Hey guys, welcome to my channel. First off, I'm just going to say that I have moved to a different location. That's also why I haven't been posting recently. I'm in the basement of my house, and this is currently my room. Uh, it's not. We were doing some construction on it, but we didn't finish yet. But it's going to be worked on soon. So that's why you see some parts of installation and stuff. But that's okay. That doesn't matter. Today we're doing the third episode of the Aplacifican Revolt, and this is about the war. I hope you guys enjoy, and let's begin. The Ad Powers planned their attack on Baracco, and the time for them to launch the plan began on January 2nd, 2024. The Allied nations, things were peaceful in Baracco until Egyptian, Bulgarian, and Bongoan soldiers attacked the Baraccan soldiers. The Baraccans tried to repeal the three armies, but suffered heavy casualties, resulting in them with no choice but to surrender. The Allied nations were glad of their victory, but had to be prepared for the next move. The leaders of the alliance sent an ultimatum to the imperial powers stating, quote, "We have captured Baracco. If you evacuate your civilians and soldiers, war will be avoided, but if you stay and fight, then blood will be spilled to all who oppose us," end quote. The nations knew that they mean war, and they decided to stay and fight for not only their colonies, but for the people and friends they made with the Aplacifican locals. They also knew that the Aplacifican nations would try to attack the Grecian colonies, so the Allies proposed a plan by sending a small group of men from each colony to help the Grecians hold defensive, and if they hold, they would try to do a counteroffensive. And this is when the Battle of Gibeah starts. The Aplacifican assault on Gibeah was a success, but they still need to capture the whole colony, which they are not doing as of now. Which they are now re-strategizing their tactics. And as for the Allied powers, they are planning to launch a counterattack by launching a plan known as the Manola Plan. The plan is that Gridley would have the soldiers retreat a little bit more south for the enemy to continue their advance. Or basically, what he did here was, the Grecians' plan is they're going to first make it look like that they're retreating, and once they're retreating, the enemies were trying to come after them, and then as they're trying to get to them, they would have a defense where they're heading towards, and then once they get behind the defenses, they can fight on the enemy. So basically, it's like a kiting technique. And this is a famous technique I actually used in real life. During the early 18th centuries, kiting is a strategy where you have a whole unit of men, a small unit of men against a whole force. Your men would skirmish the mass infantry in the tree line by shooting down as many as you could. Then if you see them coming towards you, you would retreat. And as you retreat, you would reload, and then you get down on your knees, and then fire again, and then do the same thing over and over and over until there's less men to deal with. And then once there's less men, then you can fight them on head on. That's what they're basically doing. Anyway, retreat a little bit more south for the enemy to continue their advance, and once they are in Gridley, they would send an army convoy to surround and corner the enemy, so that they couldn't escape. Basically, it's like doing a blitzkrieg, because with armor, it's like blitzkrieg. It's like a blitzkrieg strategy, but this is a Manola strategy. So same tactics, but different plan name. There's one fair place. The Aplacifican nations have tried to push the Imperial Allies out of Gibeah, but resulted in failure due to the Imperial forces being prepared and have a new army serving with them, which they were known as the Botswanans. These soldiers are trained by their colonial superpower Basaja to be part of their empire and to be a force of protection to their colonies in the Pacifica, so that they won't have to send their own soldiers most of the time from the home country. This was the first This was the Botswanans' first battle, and they have proved Basaja to trust them and rely on them throughout this war. Also, just wanted to give you a paraphrase. So remember how I said that there's going to be one particular unit that will prove themselves worthy of being trustworthy? That is where the Botswans came in. The first battle that took place was during the Battle of Gibeah, and they have done an amazing job of fighting and combat. Plus, Basaja trained them, and at first they thought that this was not going to work, but Botswanans proved them wrong, and they have seen great potential in them. So they were proven trustworthy for the Basajans and the Imperial powers to rely on during the war. Now let's get back to where we continue. Now with the enemy retreating, the Allies prepare for a counteroffensive, and the enemies are taking their time preparing for defense. The Allied invasion on the southern border of Kejep resulted in a victory, and the capture of 4 prisoners, and 4 prisoners. Now with the Allies at Kejep's door, Masad requests his allies to defend their countries while he holds them off in his country, and he hopes his convoy of supplies could arrive sooner. The Allies continue their invasion on the southern border of Kejep near the city of Taswan. The Egyptians fought to the death, fought to defend the city as much as they could, but they were overwhelmed and had to retreat to their next position, which would be another city named Tuksher. The Allies were glad that they reached the southern part of Kejep, and as they were moving into the sea of Taswan, one soldier from Kandahar, by the name of Captain Heinrich, found some crates and mines that were made from corn dust. He later reported it to his commanding officer, and it would be later mentioned that to the main leaders of the Allies, and they began to wonder if a ship of Kandastian military supplies were on their way to Kejep for Masad to retrieve, which they would later begin to interrogate the prisoners they had about the supplies. They found and eventually they have captured, and eventually one soldier confessed that a ship was on their way to Kejep 3 days ago, which meant to the Allies that the supplies could be near this country very soon. So the nations of Gridley, Basaja, and Kandahar devised a plan to stop the ship and retrieve the supplies from Kandas without starting a war with them and being a part of the combat. So the 3 nations decided to send Basaja's fleet to patrol the northern ocean near Kejep to be on lookout for the supply ship. On Saturday, January 13th, the ship arrived near Kejep, but before the ship could land, a Basajan fleet was spotted and they have blocked the merchant ship from landing the port. The Basajan admiral, Arthur Pendergast, shouted an ultimatum with the Kandastians, saying, quote, "This is the Basajan fleet. We are ordered by our government to seize your materials for the Egyptian army. If you refuse to negotiate or give the materials to us, we will open fire on your vessel. Take your time to think of what you should do." Basically giving him a threat saying, hey, we need to take those weapons from you, and since you're trading with our enemy, it's vital that you give us the supplies that you have for our enemy, and if you don't give us the supplies, we will go to war with your nation, and you will be defeated. Or I can sink your ship right now, and then we can deal with a war with Kandas, which, luckily that threat worked, and the Kandastians decided to give up the supplies. After Pendergast gave the ultimatum, the captain of the Kandastian ship, Captain Duong Au, responded, or Ao, or I don't know how you say it. It's a real Vietnamese name. I'm sorry for mispronouncing it. And also, these are random names, so I deeply apologize if I pronounce it wrong. Responded by allowing Pendergast to seize the supplies, but in return, he needed money to bring back to his nation. Pendergast agreed to offer him money and would later come to the side of the ship and began to board and seize the cargo while exchanging the cash with the captain for him to go home happy, or go to Kandahar happy. Everything was settled in a peaceful manner without involving violence that could lead to a war with another destination. Masad heard about Basaja's interaction with the Kandastian ship, and would later receive a letter from the leader of the Kandas declining to trade with them any further. With anger, Masad ordered the remaining number of soldiers to use what they got and prepare for their enemy's assault on Fort Kejir. The Allies were relieved that the war with Condas was avoided, and now could focus on their goal on weakening the Aplacifican allies and liberate Morocco. The Allies would later launch a surprise attack on the fort, and in return, the Egyptians opened fire upon the advancing Allies. But despite them having a good defense, the Allies came together, and with the help of the Kandaharian tanks, they managed to outflank the soldiers and snuck their way in, wiping out any who resisted surrender. The leader of Kejep would later be found dead along with his men inside the fort. And since he was killed, the remaining soldiers surrendered the fort and the nation of Kejep to the Allies. Now with Kejep defeated, the other Allies remain to fight for their countries and make sure they win. The Allied assault on the southern border of the Magona Republic was a success, and now they are waiting for their ally Italy to invade them from the north and east. The Gritanians have successfully taken enemy positions from the north and east, which has proven another victory for the Imperial Allies, and it resulted with the Magona Republic, Bulgaria, and Gangola to surrender. Now, since the nations have been defeated, the Allied powers demand them to pay war reparations to the Gritanians, and for the tribes that used to live in the unmarked territory. With the war over, the natives could return to their home, and with the help of the nations of Aplacifica, they could be rebuilt it to what it was before. Also, since the leader of Kejep was killed in combat, a new leader emerges, and his name was Hazim Habib. And he decided that since Masad was dead, they should be an official republic and remove all forms of monarchy and rely on their council to do their decisions, and not have one. And instead of having one leader be in control of everything in the country, they would rely on multiple people and multiple people's decisions on whether they should do something or not. So basically, it was a really short war because this is how the enemies were defeated. The enemies were defeated because the guerrilla warfare tactics didn't work, because the Imperial Allies have known the land after the first battle, so that failed. The weather was also perfect for the Imperial Allies because there was no rain, there was no nothing, and most of the battles were fought in the jungle and desert, so they basically won. And also the weapons that they have were a little bit outdated than the ones that the Imperial Allies have, and plus they didn't. Most of the nations have tanks, but 2 nations in Aplacifica have tanks and 2 don't, and they relied on weapons and stuff. So that's also why they failed. And the reason why is because when these guys started the war, they thought they were going to win easy peasy, lemon squeezy, but it didn't. They didn't, because their strategies didn't work out. They had trouble communicating with each other because there's 4 different languages being spoken, and it's hard to understand each other. But they were all agreeing to trying to take them out individually, which also failed because they were each fighting for their own goal. That is basically it, and basically it's a weird long history video. I appreciate you guys for watching, and we're going to get to announcements, so let's go to announcements. Okay guys, so the announcements are I'm going to be posting more army tour videos, maybe, or I'm going to do some videos about, or maybe do an update video on my countries, nations, and history if you want to. For those of you who are new to the channel, if you haven't heard about them, plus if you want to hear the updates, I can give you guys the updates, but that's an option I'm going to be posting here later. So I want to thank you guys for watching today's video. I told you I would keep my promise, like I said yesterday, and yeah, pretty much. It is going to be a little bit different now since I'm going to be in the basement with all this going on, but I hope that he still keeps you guys entertained. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time. and also be on lookout for the poll. And the one option that has the most votes is the one I'm going to be doing for the next couple weeks until I change my mind. So, yeah. Peace.